Hi, welcome to my video on the primary trig ratios, part 2. Express each as a radical in simplest form. So the last video we did, we had integers, or should I say, whole numbers, but this time we have some irrational numbers or radicals. So let's work with the radicals. There's a whole unit that I've done on simplifying radical square roots. So if you look over that, those videos in that unit, this will help you here. But if you haven't, try it and see how you make out. Here we go. Express each as a radical in simplest form. So we have a triangle A, and this angle is not marked B, but we have to do two angles A, and then I'm going to do B. So we have a triangle which is 1, 2, and root 3. So that's the hypotenuse. And in relation to angle A, this is opposite, and this is adjacent. So in terms of angle A, we have SOHCAHTOA, SOHCAHTOA. So sine is opposite over hypotenuse. So opposite is root 3 over hypotenuse 2. Cos is adjacent. Cos is the adjacent over the hypotenuse, A over H. So that's 1 over 2, adjacent over hypotenuse. And tan is opposite. Tan is opposite over adjacent. So opposite is root 3 over adjacent 1, which is root 3. Now I'm going to redraw the diagram, and in the same way, but this time I'm going to look at angle B. If I do this, I won't get mixed up. So now here's angle B. So this is still the hypotenuse. This is opposite now, and this is adjacent. Opposite. So in terms of angle B, SOHCAHTOA is down. So sine is opposite over hypotenuse. So in terms of angle B, opposite is 1, hypotenuse is 2. Cos is adjacent over hypotenuse, adjacent over hypotenuse. And in terms of B, adjacent is root 3 over hypotenuse 2. And tan is opposite over adjacent, opposite over adjacent. So in terms of tan, in terms of B, opposite is 1 over root 3. And notice we have to simplify it. So we have to multiply the top and the bottom, the denominator and the numerator, by root 3. So 1 times root 3 is root 3. Root 3 times root 3 is root 9, which is 3. And that's it. You cannot cancel these. If you did the unit on simplifying square roots as monomial denominators, then you'll see why this is done. Okay, let's do another example. Again, we have the triangles done. Notice all the sides are here. I have a root 3, a root 6, and a 3. And I have to do the sine of angle Y. So SOHCAHTOA. So sine, this is the hypotenuse, fill it in first. I'm doing Y, so this is opposite. And this side is adjacent. So sine is opposite over hypotenuse. Y opposite is root 3 over hypotenuse of 3. Cos is adjacent over hypotenuse, adjacent over hypotenuse. So adjacent is root 6 over 3. And tan is opposite over adjacent. So opposite is root 3 divided by adjacent, which is root 6. And again, we have a monomial denominator, which we have to rationalize. So we multiply bottom by root 6 and the top by root 6. That gives me root 18. Root 6 times root 6 is 6. But the root of 18 is 9 times 2. So that's a 3 root 2. So root d is 3 root 2 over 6. And the 3 goes into 3 once, and 3 goes into 6 twice. So that reduces down 1 and 2. And 1 root 2 is just the same as root 2. So root 2 over 2 is the answer when you simplify this. And again, all of this is done in the unit on simplifying square roots. Practice means pause the video and work each of these out. Again, all the sides are here, and I have to do angle E, which is this one. I don't have to worry about this one. So SOHCAHTOA. Sine is opposite over hypotenuse. Cos is adjacent over hypotenuse. Tan is opposite over adjacent. So 4 is the hypotenuse because it's opposite the right angle. And root 7 is opposite. 3 is adjacent. Again, it's in terms of angle E, opposite, adjacent, hypotenuse. So sine is opposite, which is root 7 over hypotenuse of 4. Cos is adjacent over hypotenuse, so it's 3 over 4. And tan is opposite over adjacent, so it's root 7 over 3. Done. And now let's do the next one. We have a triangle with angle P. So again, SOHCAHTOA is SOHCAHTOA. And sine is opposite over hypotenuse. Cos is adjacent over hypotenuse. And tan is opposite over adjacent. If you memorize this and do it over and over and over, hopefully you'll never forget it. And this is the hypotenuse because it's opposite the right angle. This is angle P, so this side is opposite, and this side is adjacent. So what happens? We have all radicals on all the sides. So in terms of angle P, opposite is root 10 over 2 root 3. So to simplify this, we just need to multiply it by root 3 and root 3. We only need to remove the radical. We don't need to get rid of the 2. So 10 times 3 is root 30, and root 30 is no perfect square in 30, so we leave it. And root 3 times root 3 is 3, which is root 9, 3, so 2 times 3 is 6. And so that's fully simplified. You cannot cancel 6 into 30 because that's irrational, that's rational. P is adjacent, and the adjacent is root 2 over hypotenuse of 2 root 3. And again, you multiply the bottom by root 3, top by root 3. Root 2 times root 3 is root 6. And root 3 times root 3 is 3. 2 3's make 6, and you cannot cancel. Done. And tan is opposite, which is root 10, over adjacent, which is root 3. Sorry, adjacent, which is root 2. Multiply it by root 2 over root 2. That gives me root 20. And root 2 times root 2 is root 4, which is 2. But the 20, square root of 20, 20 is a 4 times 5. So square root of 4 is 2, so that's a 2 root 5. So that's a 2 root 5 over 2. The 2's cancel, and I get a root 5 simplified. And they're all worked out. So working with the radicals is important because you're going to meet it many times in your trig, many times in your course coming through. So, and we have some examples to do here. Notice I do some examples and then I give you some to do. And simplifies a radical, expresses a radical in the simplest form. Notice this time we have 2 sides but not the third one. So let's put x right here. And let's go c squared is a squared plus b squared. The hypotenuse is 4 opposite the right angle. A is x and b is root 6. And so that's a 16. That's an x squared. Root 6 squared is root 6 times root 6, which is root 36, 6. Any square root multiplied by itself is that same number. So we get x squared is 16 minus 6. So that means 10 equals x squared. So x is the root of 10. Can't simplify. 10 is no perfect squares. 2 times 5. So that means this side is root 10. Now we have to do Sohcahtoa. Sohcahtoa. Make that a large T, so that's what I've been doing all along. And that's an A. So sine is opposite over hypotenuse. Cos is adjacent over hypotenuse. Tan is opposite over adjacent. So in terms of angle R, again, this is always the hypotenuse opposite the right angle. In terms of angle R, this is opposite, and that's adjacent. And the sine of R is opposite, which is root 10 over the hypotenuse of 4. Don't have to simplify. Cos is the adjacent, which is root 6 over the hypotenuse, which is 4. And tan is opposite over adjacent, so it's root 10 over root 6. So we multiply by root 6 over root 6. That gives us root 60 over root 6 times root 6 is 6. It's the root of 36. So now I have to break down 60. And 60, let's break 60 down. 60 is 2 into 60 goes 30. 2 into 30 goes 15. And I get a 3 and a 5. So 60 is 2 times 2 times 3 times 5. 2 times 2, that's a 4, so that's a 2. 3 5s makes 15, so 60 is 2 root 15 over 6. The 2 cancels into 2 once. 2 into 6 goes 3. So that's root 15 over 3 when you simplify. Notice the work on simplifying. You had to do the unit on simplifying square roots with monomial denominators. There's a video on it. If you don't know, go and find my unit on square roots and look for that topic. Remember, everything that I do in later courses, I try to do it prior to give you a background. And we got 2 sides of a triangle. We need to get the third side. So we go c squared is a squared plus b squared. C is the hypotenuse, so let's call that x. And we got a root 2 squared, and b is root 3 squared, so x squared. Root 2 squared, root 2 times root 2, root 4, which is 2. Root 3 squared is root 3 times root 3, which is root 9, which is a 3. So x squared equals 5. So x equals the square root of 5. So that's the square root of 5. Now we have all sides. This is the hypotenuse because it's opposite the right angle. And this is w, so that's going to be opposite. And that's adjacent. And Sohcahtoa, Sohcahtoa. So sine is opposite over hypotenuse. And so opposite, in terms of w, opposite is the root 3. Hypotenuse is root 5. So I have to simplify. Root 5, root 5. Root 3 times root 5 is root 15. Root 5 times root 5, root 25, which is 5. Root 15 can't simplify because the factors are 3 and 5, no perfect square. Cos is adjacent over hypotenuse, and the adjacent is root 2 over the hypotenuse, which is root 5. And again, we multiply top and bottom by root 5. Root 2 times root 5 is root 10. And root 5 times root 5 is root 25, which is 5. Root 10 cannot simplify because it's a 2 and a 5, no perfect square. You cannot simplify. You cannot divide 5 into 10 to get 2 because that's irrational and that's rational. You cannot divide 5 into root 15 because that's irrational and that's rational. And tan is opposite over adjacent. So opposite is root 3 over root 2. So we multiply top and bottom by root 2. That gives me root 6. Root 3 times root 2 is root 6. Root 2 times root 2 is root 4, which is 2. And that's fully simplified. And now we got to do some of these in terms of practicing. So we need to express each as a radical in simplest form. So we have to do, we got two sides we need to get the third. So c squared is a squared plus b squared. The hypotenuse is the x, so it's x squared is 3 squared plus 2 squared, a and b. X squared, 3 squared is 3 times 3 is 9, 2 squared is 2 times 2 is 4, x squared is 13, x is the square root of 13. So you put the square root of 13 in your diagram. Now you label this as the hypotenuse. We're doing it in terms of h, so this is opposite, and this is adjacent. So sine SOHCAHTOA, SOHCAHTOA. And again, I put t, sometimes I put a small t, sometimes I put a large t. So if I do, just you know what I'm doing. Sine is opposite over hypotenuse. So opposite is 3 over root 13. Can't leave that. I got to go root 13, top and bottom. 3 times root 13. Root 13 times root 13 is 13. And that's fully simplified. Cos is adjacent over hypotenuse. So the adjacent is 2 over root 13. Again, I multiply top and bottom by root 13. So 2 times root 13 is 2 root 13. Root 13 times root 13 is just 13. Again, the unit on simplifying square roots has all of this in it with monomial denominators. And tan is opposite over adjacent. Tan is opposite, which is 3 over adjacent, which is 2. No radicals, already simplified. And number 2, we have two sides. We have to work out a third side. Just well to work out the third side. And c squared equals a squared plus b squared. This is x. The hypotenuse is 3 root 2 squared. A is root 6. And b is x. Now I need to do 3 root 2 times 3 root 2. I'm going to square. So I'm multiplying. I'm doing it on the side. So I go 3 times 3 is 9. Root 2 times root 2 is 2. So that gives me 18. Root 6 times root 6 is 6. And I get an x squared. So x squared is 18. Subtract 6. X squared is 12. So go up here. That means x is the square root of 12. And the square root of 12, let's go up here. 12 is a 4 times 3. Square root of 4 is 2, so that's a 2 root 3. So x is 2 root 3. So we put a 2 root 3 back in our diagram. Now we label it. This is the hypotenuse. We're doing it in terms of angle C. So this is opposite. And this is adjacent. And we got SOHCAHTOA, S-O-H-C-O-H, SOHCAH. Sohcahtoa. Be careful. Sakatoa. And so we have all the sides. The sine is opposite over hypotenuse. So opposite is root 6 over hypotenuse is 3 root 2. And again, we only need to multiply the bottom by root 2, top by root 2. That gives me root 6 times 2, root 12. And that's root 2 times root 2 is 2. 3 times 2 is 6. But we got to simplify root 12. Root 12, it's already here. We have 2 root 3. So 2 root 3 over 6. 2 and the 2 once, 2 and the 6 3, so that works out to be root 3 over 3. Cos is adjacent over hypotenuse, and the adjacent side is 2 root 3, and the hypotenuse is 3 root 2. Adjacent over hypotenuse, and now we multiply top and bottom by root 2. That gives us 2 times 1 is 2, root 3 times root 2 is root 6, root 2 times root 2 is root 4, which is 2, 3 times 2 is 6, and that reduces 2 and the 2 goes once, 2 and the 6 goes 3, root 6 over 3. Note you can't cancel, that's irrational, that's rational. You can't cancel, that's irrational, that's rational. And tan is opposite over adjacent. So the opposite side is root 6. The adjacent side is 2 root 3. Opposite over adjacent, we multiply top and bottom by root 3. Root 6 times root 3 is root 18. Root 3 times root 3 is 3. 2 3s are 6. And root 18 is 9 times 2, so it's a 3 root 2. So it's a 3 root 2 over 6. 3 and the 6 goes once, 3 and the 6 goes 2, so that's root 2 over 2. Done. Now we have one more to do. Again, look at the error. This has to be a right triangle. I left off the square here. I would not be able to do this if I didn't put that right angle in there, or if I didn't say that these two lines were perpendicular, because perpendicular lines form right angles. So I need that right angle in order to do the right triangular trig. And I have fractions this time. So let's see what happens. We just go with the flow. Let's see, and I got to do only the sine of k. And what sine? Well, Sakatoa says Sohcahtoa. Sakatoa says opposite over hypotenuse. I have the opposite side, but I don't have the hypotenuse, so I got to go and work out that side. So x squared is, c squared is a squared plus b squared. I always write this down first. So that's an x squared is 3/10 squared plus 2/5 squared. And 3/10, 3 times 3 is 9. 10 times 10 is 100. And 2/5 times 2/5, 2 times 2 is 4. 5 times 5 is 25. Now we have to add these, so we need a common denominator, and the common denominator is 100. So that's already 100, so I'll multiply this one by 4 over 4. So 25 times 4 is 100. 4 times 4 is 16. And we have a common denominator of 100, so we write it down. 9 and 16 gives me 25. Let's go up here. But you notice that 25. Now I can do two ways here. I can reduce this, or I can do the square root right away. It's your choice. I can reduce it to go 1 over 4. 25 and 25 goes 1. 100 divided by 25 is 4. So x is the square root of 1/4. And the square root of 1/4 is 1/2. Square root of 1 is 1. Square root of 4 is 2. So this side is 1/2. The other way I could have done this is say that x squared, x, if x squared is that, x is the square root of 25/100. So x square root of 25 is 5, square root of 100 is 10, and 5/10 reduces to 1/2. 5 and 5 goes once, 5 and so I could have gone this way and did the square root, or I could have reduced it and then did the square, your choice. But I have 1/2, so that's the hypotenuse. K, that's opposite. That's adjacent. So K, the sine is opposite over hypotenuse, so it's 3/10 divided by 1/2. So that's the same as 3/10 times 2/1. I can cancel. 2 into 2 goes once, 2 into 10 goes 5. So that's a 3/5. I also could have done this. Watch, 3/10 times 2/1. I could have done 6/10 multiplied and then canceled after. 2 into 6 goes 3, 2 into 10 goes 5. I prefer, when I'm multiplying fractions, to cancel from top to bottom. So 2 cancels into 10 5 times, so I get a 3/5. And that's a review of primary trig ratios of radicals, which is going to be needed in future topics. If you like my video, click on the like button, the subscribe button, the notification bell. Visit my website at www.mathfullyexplained.com to find more information about me, my videos, and the content. That is the content that's on my YouTube channel, Math Fully Explained. Thank you for viewing my video. Bye-bye.